So Bernie Goldberg, who used to be a CBS News correspondent, who's now a frequent contributor to the O'Reilly Factor, he's actually taking some guff, and he's sort of angry at the right-wingers, such as Ted Cruz and Fox News' own Eric Bolling, because he thinks that the Republicans are on a suicide mission with this whole shutdown thing. So he wrote on his website, "While many of you claim to respect people in the public eye who stand up for their views, no matter how unpopular, what you really mean is you respect people in the public eye who stand up for your views. You want the other guy dead, in some cases, I suspect literally dead." So he's not mincing words there, and I think this is really sort of very indicative of what's going on here. They're even turning against a pretty conservative, consistently conservative guy like Bernie Goldberg.
So the article says that they are the ayatollahs of the right. Now, this is a guy who's made basically a career out of calling the media liberals.
Yeah.
Like, oh, liberal media, and they're totally against the right wing, and they're against Republicans, etc. So it's not like he lacks any credibility in the right-wing sphere. He has a tremendous amount of it. It's one of O'Reilly's favorite guests. He has him on literally every single week to do a segment about how biased liberals are and how biased the press is against the right. So here he's saying, and in some parts of the article he even says, "You guys are as bad as the liberals."
That's the worst thing he can say.
He's like, you know how like the liberal professors don't tolerate any dissent, and they only want you to think they're, which I'm like, no, I don't know that. Yeah, I knew one liberal professor like that in law school. I did, right? But all my other professors totally tolerated dissent. They loved dissent. They loved the conversation in the school, whether it was undergrad or in law school. So he makes that part up. But now he's doing the heaviest insult he can to the right wing, comparing them to Muslim ayatollahs and liberal professors.
Yeah, Karl Rove famously, intentionally carried a book of his around with the title facing up, so that all the media could get a close up and report on this book and put it on the bestseller list. He's a movement guy. So you're right. This is a fracturing among the right, but it is interesting that he's really exposing the truth.
Yeah, and he actually went further. I really think this is interesting. He said, "So this feel-good nonsense that you spout, that you admire people who stand up on principle, is just something you say to make yourself good about yourself. But you don't mean it. Like the other ayatollahs, reasoned dissent scares you. You talk tough, but you are weak." I mean, this is really, really great that he's going to the base and saying, guys, we have to be better than this, otherwise we're just the way he would project us to be, I suppose.
Yeah, but he's doing it because...
You don't want to give him any credit.
He's doing it because he's the one getting attacked, right? Will he be saying this in a week if it's a debate that he's perfectly in line with these crazy right-wing people?
Right.
And my guess is not. The thing that I always want to kind of point out here is he talks a lot about the idea of purity and how it's wrong that you insist on purity. And this is a debate that we often struggle with, and including progressives being compared to the Tea Party. Like you have progressives on the left and asking for purity, and people on the right. And the real problem is that people on the right ask for purity around really unpopular positions, like let's never raise taxes on the rich and stuff like that. When people on the left ask for purity, it's for things like, can you please hold Wall Street accountable after they broke the law and took away millions of jobs, right? It's like things that even Republican voters back home agree with.
Right.
It's like, it's not really purity. It's saying, would you please do the will of the people? But it's nice that he's finally exposing them for this. I think it's something that we can actually quote back at them later when we need to.
Yeah. Right, to that point, the thing that Republicans lose their mind over is, see, the liberals, they won't budge on entitlements, and the real problem is entitlement spending. But the American people say over and over again, this is not like a politician saying, oh, the American people, and he's just going to say whatever he thinks.
Right.
No, it's backed up by the polls. 87% of Americans say cut Social Security under no circumstance. None, okay? So I guess the 87% of the American people are purists, are liberal purists, right? Because they say, look, you call it entitlement because I'm entitled to it. I put my money into it my whole life. So I want my Social Security, and I don't want you to cut it, because that's not the bargain we had, right? So when as Adam's point says, when liberals fight on that point, they're with an overwhelming majority of the American people who don't want you to budge on robbing them.
Yep. And just to kind of continue that Social Security polling point, we actually did some polling recently and showed that on the question of expanding Social Security benefits, it's popular by 2-1 in Kentucky, 3-1 in Texas. It's also popular in the purple states of Colorado and Iowa, and in the blue states of Massachusetts, Hawaii, and California. So there was actually purity across the country behind the position of don't cut, expand Social Security. And that's why progressives really are championing the will of the people when we ask for this stuff.
And here we go again. We're on the precipice of talking about a grand bargain where they would cut Social Security and Medicare against the wishes of the overwhelming majority of the American people, even by a 3-to-1 margin in Texas,
Yeah.
where they say not only don't cut, but expand Social Security.